No utilities, it's just the hole in the street.
It'll be prioritized and it'll be tackled. But quite frankly, we have so many that we're working on, and we do have limited crews. And that's just a straight up.
So there's just really no, I mean, like, because I get that question, it's like, you know, I've reported this pothole, it's a major pothole, but it requires asphalt, but there are no utilities involved. But the answer to that is we just don't know when to.
Which one are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the one that I've passed.
Which one is that?
It's at the top of Northampton and Catherine.
Okay.
Off of East Northside Drive.
On that same concept, and I read this again the other day, it seems like the machines or the crews are having to chase from here to here to deal with the ones that get reported at 311, rather than if they go fix one and there's 10 others there, they fix the one that's reported, but then they gotta go to the other side of town. Is there?
Well, we've tried to address that. We've tried to give them a range, and that's an edict that the mayor has given us as well to make sure that common sense prevails. So if they're on the scene, they see more.
I know it's strange, right?
Yeah. So anyway, we try to get those addressed. The issue there, and we kind of talked about that as well. When they go out and they're on a schedule and they have 311 potholes, they basically are going to have so much asphalt. So that's how they try to schedule and prepare. And that keeps them from having to go back and get them. If they're doing, you know, paving for utility cuts, and again, that's just a matter of them actually being able to mobilize a dump truck to bring in the asphalt that they need to finish the paving. So the crews again are limited on equipment, you know, as well as personnel in trying to get that done.
Let me just suggest, if you're sending a crew out that's got to fix a pothole, if they fill the truck up with however much it will haul, there's plenty of other potholes right there beside it to use all of it.
That's that common sense you're talking about.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So when do we decide to use crushed stone as opposed to asphalt? It seems to me it's crushed stone would be temporary, maybe that's my.
Crushed stone and tar mix.
Now, are you referring to when a cut is made and it's backfield?
I just noticed recently in Northeast Jackson, there's been a lot of crushed stone.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, it's just coloring. Yeah.
The utility cuts have crushed stone, temporary.
Right.
Loose crushed stone, loose temporary.
All right.
All right. Moving on to Tiger Grant and West County Line, Community Gateways. That one's been in action since February 24th. Most of the COP was then. I think there was a meeting at Tougaloo College in October 4th was the meeting. Design is in process and in progress there. As far as right away, I think that's other.
Yeah, right away is well underway. I can let Charles speak about that. As far as update on the right away process and where we are with that. And in terms of number of parcels that have been acquired, do we have any other updates since September?
We in constant contact with a lot of the property owners. Bill Schaefer is a consultant who is assisting us with the acquisition and relocation for those residents that are affected on this county line. We do have had a number of meetings with and at Tougaloo College as relates to those homeowners who are affected, and it's going. We actually have approved some just compensations for some of those property owners, and about to go to the city council to approve about 8 of them for payment. So I would say that West County Line Road is moving pretty good right now. And I would probably speak about our coordination with the railroad. We just seem like all of the stakeholders who are involved are working hand in hand to get this project moving forward. So.
Railroad originally was a $260,000 in-kind match. We went back and reworked the budget for the Tiger Grant. The things the railroad were going to provide were included in that grant so that they would not have to provide that $260, which in the long term is good. It helps us by shifting some of the long-term maintenance of the bridges from city maintenance to railroad maintenance.
State Street. And they're actually moving on, just on some communication on State Street recently, surveying, everything is done on that one, so they're in design.
Yeah, at this point, a field review is supposed to be scheduled for the first part of November, with Neil Schaefer. The Eubanks Bridge, which is a part of the North State Street project, is underway. I believe at this point, they have completed their preliminary drainage analysis for that area. Water and utilities are currently under design by Neil Schaefer. At this point, all the water and sewer, which is along that corridor, in that area for the project, is being replaced. What else can I say? The project will require a significant amount of undercut due to the utilities and poor soil conditions. Other than that, everything is going according to schedule for North State Street.
And tab number 1 beyond the Tiger project is the page for the matching.
What is our condition? Because I know we're funding the advancing stuff that comes back on Lake County Match or whatever, we got some money in it.
Right, currently, our commitment right now is for the design of State Street and West County Line Road. So there's appropriation approved by the commission to fund the contract with Neil Schaefer, 80-20 for the design. And then another one which is for $1,090,000 for West County Line Road, same thing.
So we approved like $1,090,000, but we're gonna get back 80% of that.
Yes, sir.
Did we also approve the match for the construction side, or is that coming from somewhere else? Is that coming?
That's going to have to be a point of discussion.
Okay, but right now, we've expended $1,090,000 and $1,000,000 whatever for the two designs, but 80% of that comes back because they pay for that once you pay for it. That's what I'm trying to get straight, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
But we hadn't committed anything to the construction side, but the city to get the Tiger grant has an 80-20 on the whole $19 million.
That's right.
Applied for 19 and a half, and got 16.
You got 60. Thank you.
All right, we'll skip to U2, which is 2016, fiscal year 2016. Operation Orange Storm, which is include the neighborhood streets and also the major streets. For the major streets, I'll go with the major streets first because there'll be more discussion on the neighborhood streets. So the major streets, we do have a pre-construction meeting set for next Thursday, which is the 10th this month, and hopefully we'll get going shortly thereafter. For the
Okay, what does that mean? Hopefully shortly thereafter.
Well,
We have a notice of the normal issue following.
Following how far?
I think that's going to have to be in-depth discussion with the mayor. Typically, most asphalt companies shut down, December and January due to weather, May, and so forth. So I think realistically, it's really going to depend on the weather. We have a mild winter, limited rain, and we can average temperatures somewhere around 50 degrees. I think we'll still be able to do some work, but get some.
Yeah, but I don't want us working under the premise that we'll get to it when the weather gets better.
Right.
All right, so I want us working under the premise that we got real good weather right now, so we're gonna do everything we can to take advantage of the good weather right now. My concern is that that's not how we roll.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, talk to Superior, to tell them about the meeting, the pre-construction meeting, and we told them the time would be of essence for this project. Although they're working on I-55, we told them that we want to make sure that they prioritize moving forward with this project.
What they say.
They said they would work with us again.
In the pre-con and the documents these contractors receive, can we make sure that paint is included?
It is.
It is in this one?
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's 6 months to finish this.
240 days altogether.
240 days with front
From the date of notice of proceeding. From the date of notice of proceeding. Once it is-
notice to proceed.
Yes, sir.
That's right. All right.
All right, okay, so move on to operational and storm. The contractor is back and he's working diligently. They have been crews currently in Bellhaven.
When you say he's back, it's been gone.
Well, you know, it was, I don't know, a bit, I don't know.
It was on and off.
And unfortunately, it's kind of beyond all of our control because they're busy, they got bigger jobs, and they don't see it as a big job, so
What
they
is
can
that?
take off and go work
What does that contract have in for time?
The contract was scheduled to expire on November 15th. However, the contractor gave us his word that he would work through until the weather gets bad, which is, somewhere in December. And he'll keep his prices the same as it is all through it.
Does that mean when December comes, the price is no good, but what if you still got 30 streets left?
Actually,
I mean, which ones are controlled by the streets that he's supposed to be doing?
Actually, it's controlled by, he said if fuel price cost doesn't go up, fluctuate more than 50 cents, then he'll.
But if he's pulling off when he wants to, and
Yeah.
taking away and going somewhere
Yeah,
else.
that's my
so he
problem.
doesn't- so
My
he
problem
doesn't
is you
finish
got a
his project.
contract with me, but you decide, because that's a bigger job, you go to it.
It's the same problem.
And so if he
Well-
doesn't finish it this year and he would hire somebody next year, that can cost more because he didn't finish it. By his own volition, I mean, is there penalty in there for?
It's a term bid, so
That's a
there's,
term bid.
it's a term bid, so there's actually no liquidated damages. And talking with the one neighboring town, they had similar issues with their term bid pavers going elsewhere. There's just a lot of work going on that's hurting at the municipal level.
So who outside of the sacred horses that we have in the state can do the work? Because hell, I don't need, it's almost like we're sitting at the mercy of folks because they know we ain't got no other choice. Any companies in Alabama and Louisiana who love to do the work? I know nobody wants to say that, talk about that out loud, but if we're gonna be local conscious, local gotta be conscious of us.
They don't want to come do the work if you're gonna put all these requirements that you put in there about hiring Jacksons and EBOs or C5.
No, that's garbage, that's garbage.
No,
That's
I
garbage,
mean, no,
'cause
they're
that
not
ain't
gonna
what they're
come, they're
saying.
not gonna come do it for that, I'll tell you.
Well,
Not from across two
Well,
state lines.
We really have found that to be a deterrent for our contracts. I think though, to point back, the mayor had some concerns about doing the term bid originally, and that's just the flaw of it. And unfortunately, really, if we do it next year, my recommendation would be is that they have a number of days to do it, and then you have liquidated damages.
So bottom line, are they likely to finish like we were saying? You used to think they're gonna finish?
Probably not. I will say they're working more, they're more intensely than they have.
So how far do you think they will get?
It's hard to tell, and that's been the problem. We tried to stress it in those crews to finish them. But because they had so much work and it was fit so thin, they flat out told us, look, hey, we got plenty of work. It's good times for us.
So we got Ward 7 that's underway now. Then what is it, Ward 1?
Was 1 and 3.
So you mean to tell me you're probably gonna get through Ward 7, start Ward 1 and not do any of it?
Well, this is what we're thinking. What we're gonna do is, today, currently, APAC is using their crew, and then today their sub has been doing all the work for the most part in the city. They should be on site on today. Promise that it will be midweek, so I'm saying midweek will be today. Hopefully, if they're not today, they will be tomorrow. And what we're planning on doing is actually trying to split in the crew and having one crew in Ward 1, while this crew finishes at Ward 7. Then we'll skip that Ward 7 crew to Ward 3. So we'll have at least have work, at least 2 yards.
Well, we hope that happens, we're not sure that will
Yeah,
happen.
that's what.
That's what we didn't get asked on.
The more general question, but it does get to the same thing about making the projects attractive to the contractor rather than here from somewhere else. We have these things, looking at them in all these wards, and I've been driving around looking at the streets that were on the list to be paved. And here's one, and then over there's one, and the road that goes from here to there to there to there is all just as bad. Why do we hit this cul-de-sac and this cross street but not get the connector street on here that's just as bad? When you're in an area, I guess, I'm asking, if you're in an area and you got, I know we can't do all the streets everywhere and you're gonna get hell raised at your mayor if you're, get one good neighborhood but nothing else there, but we're hitting and missing. I mean, it's like shooting a covey of quail with the streets that we're picking.
We have addressed that same issue with the contractor, so we know.
No, I'm not talking about you
I'm like
can't.
choosing.
You can't do it, the contractor, because we've already approved the streets, and the streets is here and there and there. And why didn't we choose streets that was here, that goes to here, that goes to there?
Can we, let me do this though, because we got like 5 minutes left in this meeting. What I'd like to do is we can put that as a discussion for the next meeting.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of our next year's concept about how we pick streets.
So we can look at that for discussion for the next meeting, concepts for street selection, criteria, whatever. But number 6, I think, is important, because it talks about items for us to discuss and approval. And these are major approvals that I assume they're for 17. It was never my intention, I don't believe, nor this commission, to consider approving anything today. Not something this major. Well, I think we need to know from you all is, what is it that we need to be studying between now and the next meeting when you probably want us to approve? Number 2, do we think that there's a need for a study session or a work session in order to flush these things out, to be prepared to take some action on the 2017 items?
Yes, sir. As a matter of fact,
Can I ask where you look, what you're looking at?
I'm looking at page 2
Oh,
of
the
the
agenda, okay, sorry, look, I'm sorry.
as a matter of fact, in the beginning of the year when we first started, there was discussions about the ratings of the streets.
Yeah,
I think you was using the 2007 data,
right.
and basically you was using a system that the city was using, which was on a scale from 0 to 1,000.
500.
0 to 1,000. I think it's rated from 0 to 1,000.
We just ain't got no 1,000 streets.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, but
There's 2 different, actually, if you want to know the truth, there's 2 different ones. The ones that CMPD does, the 1,000, the ones that on this list right there, got 500.
okay, well, that system, you know, of course, you know, that's pretty much subjective. And basically, the list that you had streets on there that had ratings, and some of them wasn't rated at all. And one of the things that we were tasked to do is go in there, especially with the Operation Orange Cone, go in there and rate some of those streets that the commissioner had identified. And also to rate those streets that was not rated. And then go in there and look at rating some more streets. Well, that's like I said, it's a subjective approach. And one of the things that we were proposing is to do a more objective approach as far as getting all these streets, because you got so many miles of roadway that you need. And so happened that the city, unfortunately the city, they had a consultant to do a study. And they did the study that we were intending to do. So basically, we are ahead of the game, that they did a study on the assessment of the street, and it's a more objective way of doing it. So we receive that data, and we're gonna be looking at that data, and we're gonna be coming to the commission and making a recommendation how we need to move forward with approving those streets.
This is the one that was done like in 12 or 13.
It was done between the 2, yeah.
Report dated October.
Was that the one that CMPD did, or? That's
No, that's the consultant hired by the city.
All right, so what you're telling me is the next meeting, you're going to bring to us data-driven options for us to make decisions from.
Yes, sir.
All right, is there any way, how soon do you think y'all will have that?
We'll definitely have it before the next commission meeting.
But if the consultant did it, why can't you just send us what the consultant did?
Well, we want to make sure we evaluate that information. You do our due diligence, evaluate it, and provide you with a recommendation on
I want to see what the consultant did.
Well, I want both.
All right, both be fine.
So go on and do what you're gonna do,
Yeah.
and then just send us both.
Yeah.
And
we will.
because honestly, I don't want to look through $1,000 streets. I want to look at those streets that are the high impact streets that are data driven, so we can make some decisions on them. Come at least.
Mayor, I'll just say this just for the record. At the rate that we're finishing streets, I don't know how much sense it makes to approve any more streets when we haven't finished the first round. We don't know what happens between now and the future. We may have to reassess because of something else.
One of the things that we do need to start doing is planning for 17, that when construction season starts, March and April, we have our game plan together and have our specs together and put stuff out to bid. What you don't want to do is think over the winter, make decisions spring, design in the summer, and we're advertising in September. There's your construction season pretty much gone.
Is that question?
And the other thing on that data is needs to look at is comparing your street ratings versus where we have critical water issues like cast iron lines, small lines that can play a role into whether a bad street is just a repaving or, hey, we need to do the water line, consider doing the water line as part of the project.
Yeah.
We have some streets where the milling machine has.
Is that gonna be part of?
Yeah.
So that's what I said. I just give it both.
Because what we're gonna take that data and we're gonna make sure that we compare it to the current data that you have. So you'll pretty much see a comparison of what you currently have and what is being recommended.
Just so we understand that, are you saying that y'all found a report that Stantec did that rated all 2,000 miles of streets in the city of Jackson?
It wasn't found.
We didn't find
It
it.
wasn't found.
They're working on it.
No.
But we found,
They just
but no,
submitted it.
we finally got the completed
Right.
part this year.
You just submitted.
There's a lot of different parts that are gonna have to be really looked at, because when you look at the data's gonna provide you what a surface profile would be. It's not going to show you what is underlying as for how much base is there, whether it's a concrete structure, those type of things, because there was no pouring associated with this project. So there were some deficiencies when the project started, and it's why it took so long for us to get where we're at right now. So that's why IMS is saying that they want an opportunity to peruse that information, review it, and then make sure that before we dump this information right in your lap, that it's thoroughly evaluated and vetted, so we won't have these contentious, arguments about what the rating of the street is and why it was rated this way and the criteria that went along with how it was rated. So,
Are you gonna have to rebid the streets that we're not gonna finish this year?
We'll have to discuss that when we get a little bit closer to that.
That's my point. That's my whole point. Yeah, I mean,
I got one more question. In the material that was given to us at the end of the October meeting, there's about 30 pages of pictures of streets from Ward 2. And there's a cost estimate, and then there's a listing of streets to be done. I want to know who made the decision to spend all the time and effort to do this when we have not once, not twice, but 3 times voted we weren't doing streets in Ward 2. Why are we being given this material and say, y'all go do these streets?
No, it's not here, but you remember you asked.
We didn't ask you to do any streets in Ward 2.
No, you asked for the cost estimate of those streets in Ward 2, so you could use that money elsewhere, you remember? Yes, you asked for the cost estimate, so you could do that.
That was in either the works, I believe that was in the work session. That's what came out.
I'll get you a girlfriend.
But that, no, I mean, I went and rode over the streets that were on the list. One of them is not in the city limits of Jackson. the mileage that's on there about this 2/10 of a mile, when it's 4 or 5 or 6/10 of a mile, the ratings on them, I mean, based on this mileage, and the cost estimates based on the mileage, and the mileage isn't even right.
Yeah.
Why do we have all that information in there? If you find the girlfriend, better check that first.
All right, so last thing, we have a data portal that's supposed to have this stuff, the same stuff we're talking about here. Whether we're talking about streets, what phase they're in, the amounts of money being spent. I asked Justin Bruce to come to this meeting quickly to tell y'all about how that ought to be happening. I'm not sure, I haven't looked in a while, but what I want to be able to do is to look in the morning and see if stuff that was said today matches what's on that data portal. So can you speak just a little bit to the commission about what the data portal is, why we're doing it, and how we anticipate it with that, real quick?
Sure. Again, Justin Bruce. Right now we have what we call a Capital Projects Explorer, which is a part of our open data portal here in the city of Jackson. It's found at capitalprojects.jacksonms.gov. Currently, information that is fueling that Explorer comes from IMS. After conferring with City of Jackson Public Works Department, I get that information from two young men named Vidic and Shrivis. They send over those documents monthly. We're attempting to figure out a more frequent way to update that information. But currently, they send me a spreadsheet with all of the information that you guys have, phase, budget, amount spent, shape files, so that citizens can actually see where the work is going to begin. Currently, we only have year 1 projects on that site. I'm not sure if you've approved year 2. If not, if you have, we'll get those updated. But again, I say, once you kind of go through your task, your day-to-day operations in these meetings, that data is then updated and IMS shoots it over to us, and we send it out to the general public.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we had Commissioner Lee's point made very clearly, but things that are already approved and that we don't get done, that's going to be a mess if we don't have a way to, I don't know what you were exactly saying about where they go, but that's going to be a...
Well, I think we need to be careful when we say don't get done, because if we're done by when.
Well, the point is they gotta be rebid.
Yeah, if they're going to get rebid, they're going to have new ratings and all this, and people already see that they were on the list. I think I'm just saying there's a big issue there.
Well, I think we control that with, by saying what is happening next, which is why when we come back and we start talking about prioritizing 2017, we also look, I think we'll have a better picture of what has it, what we need, what's going to be left off for 16, so we can actually scope out 17.
If we said we're going to do street X, Y, Z, and ABC, and they ain't finished it, can you tell them they ain't getting paid till they finish those streets?
I like it.
I mean, tell APAC, you got 5 more streets up here you're supposed to finish. Is the term bid of 9 months? I mean, is that when you measure term, it's this bid is good until later? When does the 9 months expire?
November 15th.
November what?
15.
15.
Right there.
Yes, sir.
Regardless of what that is this year.
That's why.
Mr. Evans?
I also too want to make a point that, like say for instance, you know that the bid was approved in April. All right, the commission did not meet May, June, July, August, September. So there are some things just like
But that has nothing to do with it.
We approved the list of streets
But
in
my
the
point
March
is,
meeting.
you approved the list of streets, but like say for instance, just like right now, I think the commissioner, he asked, will we consider a street? All right, well, if we consider it a street, don't we have to come back to get your approval?
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with it. That has nothing to do with
That's
it.
already
working.
Contract.
That has nothing to do with it.
That was my point, we have a picture of the contract.
The contract, we approved a bunch of streets in March 15th or so, middle of March, the work session. And we might have talked about some since then and said, what about the one over there by the car dealer? There's only been 1 or 2 that we talked about since then. But, there's this list of streets, this multicolored list you sent me the other day. That's what I assume the contract.
Let me be clear about not meeting when we were not meeting. what were we gonna talk about, to be honest with you? Because we had already sent marching orders to get things done. We were gonna come in, what we're gonna vote on, we weren't gonna vote on years 3 through 5 because we had just started actually pushing out work or approved pushing out work for year 1. So to come in and sit and look at each other didn't make sense to anybody, especially not to me when I know I have other things to do. And I'm sure you all have other things to do. So us not meeting, I don't think, slowed down anything.
I don't think it slowed down anything on the construction.
We're not saying that, we're just saying.
I mean, he's saying,
The 15th of November, said using that date, I mean, there's a lot to be done in Ward 1 yet and all of Ward 3.
And most of Ward 7 is based on the internet.
So we're talking about a lot of projects that are already approved that aren't going to get touched.
Can those term bids be extended?
Yes.
Is there a clause in there that would allow you to extend those?
I think we would have to probably give council in order to extend the days if the contractor is willing to hold those prices. Because that would affect the overall original contract that was approved by council at dollar figure.
am I correct in assuming it's a term bid by days and by dollars? It's also the case.
No, it's a.
The money will still be there. If they don't
Yeah, but I'm just
finish-
saying that if they had put in days, they couldn't do $11 million because it's limited to $9.8 million. It's
That's right.
limited.
That's right. We would just be extending the time.
I'm not
Not
sure
a-
it's in the money either, but it's just.
All right, y'all, this time. I appreciate everybody coming. Can we get a motion to adjourn? Second. All right, consider yourselves adjourned.